Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all about gentle skincare, sometimes self-care, and today we're talking 10 tips for dehydrated skin. Now, dehydration is something that I've struggled with for most of my adult life. I have had many successes, but way more failures with learning to understand dehydration, identify it, and learn what works best for me. So these are, the best of the best tips that I've learned over many, many, many years. Now, dehydration is kind of tricky to diagnose for a lot of people because it's not a skin type. It's a skin condition and it can happen at any point in time. So dehydration can absolutely happen if you have oily skin, dry skin, combination skin, even a balanced skin type. You can experience the condition of dehydration. And there's a lot of factors that can cause it. Sometimes it's seasonal for some people. Certain seasons create more favorable environment for dehydration or transepidermal water loss. So basically that means that the hydration in your skin is actually evaporating. It's traveling through the epidermis and evaporating out of your skin. And that's why you get that really tight, deep down, like thirsty, sometimes kind of like itchy and irritated feeling in your skin. It's not necessarily dry skin at the top surface where things are kind of peely and flaky and feel really dry at the top. It's a much deeper down type of feel. And I always identify it as like, you just want to do more skincare because that's the only relief that you can get with dehydrated skin. It's like your skincare doesn't last. You do your routine in the morning and by 3 o'clock, you want to wash your face and do more skincare just to replenish that deep down thirsty, itchy, irritated, tight feeling in your skin. That's because you're losing hydration faster than you can replace it with your skincare products. So dehydration can happen seasonally, it can happen year-round for some folks, and it can happen on an occasional basis. Sometimes when you use really aggressive actives like chemical exfoliants and retinoids, things like that can really test your skin, that can open your skin up to dehydration as well. So that was a nice explanation about what it is, but what do we do about it? That's what today's video is going to address. I'm about to share with you my top 10 tips. So if you're so ready, give the video a big thumbs up and let's jump right in. So tip number 1, use a humidifier. Now, this is actually a really important step that I think a lot of people miss with dehydrated skin, especially if you're experiencing seasonal dehydration. I think a humidifier is going to be super duper helpful for you. It's extremely common for folks to experience dehydration in the winter months because that is when the air can get really cold. It can get very harsh outside, but the heat goes on inside and that definitely dries out the environment. And when the air around us is very, very dry, it actually increases the transepidermal water loss. The hydration in the skin is just much more prone to being lost through the epidermis. And that's what causes that really deep down dry and tight and parched feeling in your skin, right? So why not make our environment more favorable by adding more humidity or more hydration into the environment? That's actually going to slow down the transepidermal water loss, and it's going to really help your skin in the long run. Think about that. Think about your environment. If it's incredibly dry, yeah, your skin's gonna feel like that too. So add some more humidity into the environment, make it more favorable for your skin to hold on to its own hydration. Tip number 2, speaking of hydration, you need to hydrate your skin. And no, I don't mean drink water. I do feel like that's a common tip for dehydrated skin is to make sure that you're drinking enough water. And while I think that that's a very good health tip and it may make your skin glow because when your body is optimally hydrated, everything is working efficiently and that is going to show on your skin. The health of our body absolutely affects the health of our skin, but drinking 8 glasses of water a day is not really going to affect your skin barrier, and that's really the root cause of a transepidermal water loss is a weak or damaged moisture barrier. And I'm going to get to that later in the video, but I just really want to address that right now because just drinking water is not going to be enough. In this tip, I want to talk about the hydration that we apply topically through skincare because it really can make a difference to easing those symptoms of dehydration. And you shouldn't feel ashamed that you need to add hydration to your skin. It's just what your skin is craving. Give it what it is craving and ease those symptoms. So my favorite way to do this is really with a hydrating toner. You can absolutely do it with serums and essences as well, but my favorite is a toner for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's so watery. They come in lots of different textures, right? But they're generally very watery and quickly and easily absorbed into the skin. And that means they can dive a little bit deeper. And sometimes that's where it feels like the symptoms are, that itchiness, that tightness, that dehydration is deep in the skin, right? And so these watery textures feel like they just, dive in a little bit deeper. Another reason why I like hydrating toners is that they're layerable. Because they don't have thick gel-like textures, generally speaking, you can actually put a couple layers onto your skin and not overwhelm your skin. So I do have a lot of videos actually on hydrating toners. So definitely check out those recommendations. I would also say look for ingredients like glycerin and panthenol. They're very, very hydrating, very favorable to dehydrated skin, and very supportive of your skin's moisture barrier, which, as I mentioned, is one of the root causes of dehydration and something that you really do want to address in your skincare routine. My third tip is to avoid hyaluronic acid focused serums, essences, toners, and moisturizers. Just avoid it in your skincare routine when you're suffering with dehydration. So as I mentioned in the hydrating tip, glycerin and panthenol are amazing humectants for the skin, and hyaluronic acid definitely is a humectant ingredient. It can hydrate the skin, but it's really not the panacea hydrating ingredient that it has a reputation for being. Hyaluronic acid is a rather large molecule. It absolutely does come in different molecular weights. You can chop it up and make it smaller and help it to dive deeper into the skin, but generally speaking, it's a large molecule that sits at the surface of the skin. And that's why it's actually so good for plumping the skin, because that large molecule that hydrates at the surface really smooths and plumps and firms the skin. But that does actually mean that if it sits so close to the surface of your skin, it's more prone to inducing the transepidermal water loss. Remember, the loss of hydration through the skin. So it's just generally best to avoid this ingredient as a star ingredient in your creams, your toners, essences, and your serums. If it is a minor ingredient lower on the list and not a star ingredient, it's fine. You'll be fine because of the formulation overall. But generally speaking, avoid it as a star ingredient if you're trying to address your dehydration. So tip number 4 is to add ceramides into your skincare routine. Now, ceramides are a really beautiful lipid that actually make up 50% of your skin barrier. And as I've kind of teased throughout this video, and if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you know that barrier care is the most important thing that you have to do when it comes to treating your dehydration. Because you do have a skin barrier. It is made up of a bunch of lipids, 50% of them being ceramides, and the lipids actually create this barrier, or think about it like a wall, right? A nice impermeable wall that works 2 ways to hold hydration and moisture inside of your skin to keep your skin really comfortable, but it also works as a barrier to outside forces like pollution and bacteria and irritants. And so your barrier is so important to the health of your skin. But if your skin barrier is weak or damaged or compromised, you want to think about that wall actually having like little holes in them. And sometimes it's really bad, big holes, right? The lipids aren't being replenished at a good rate. They've been worn down. And so that means the barrier is not working anymore. Things can get through, right? Hydration can escape the skin, but that also means things like bacteria can also get in deeper into the skin. And so sometimes when you do have a damaged moisture barrier, you will get a lot of acne along with that, because the bacteria is more easily able to penetrate into the skin and do its nasty stuff, right? Because the barrier is not resisting that bacteria as well as when it was healthy. Ceramides, as I said, make up 50% of your skin barrier, so it makes sense to add them into your skincare routine to keep that barrier strong and to plug up all those holes, right? So really look for ceramides they're very common in moisturizers. It can be very, very helpful in moisturizers. There are ceramide specific serums. You can get ceramides in a lot of your skincare products now because people are really catching on to the fact that they're incredibly helpful for the health of your skin. Now, when it comes to barrier care, ceramides make up 50%, and the other 50% is made up of fatty acids. That's 25%, as well as cholesterol, the other 25%. And so if you can find those ingredients in your skincare products alongside of ceramides, that's even better. Yeah, because they do work more efficiently and more holistically to really heal up that skin barrier. So that would be my like bonus tip for you, is not just ceramides, but look for the fatty acids and the cholesterol alongside of that as well. I do have a video that breaks down some of my favorite products that contain these 3 ingredients. I call them the Holy Trinity. Now, speaking of fatty acids, as I mentioned, they make up 25% of the skin barrier, and they make up part of my tip number 5. See what I did there? Tip number 5 is to use fatty acids in your skincare products. And I've just found that fatty acids really help to balance out my skin type, which is combination. I can be quite oily in my T-zone, dry in my U-zone, and I'm quite prone to congestion in my skin. And I found that fatty acids actually help to resist that congestion. They really help to balance out my combination skin, my oily areas, but also my dry areas, and they really help with dehydration too. And so I do like to have a special focus on them in my skincare. So you can find fatty acids, like individual fatty acids, added into skincare products. I'm going to list a few right here on the screen for you so you can know what they are when you see them on the list. Not every word with the word acid after it is a fatty acid, but here are some of the more common ones that you'll find. They add some emolliency into the product, but fatty acids more commonly are found in skincare products in plant-based oils that have fatty acid content to them. So that's where things get a little bit confusing, is oftentimes not all oils, but many plant oils have fatty acid compositions that can be favorable to dehydrated skin. And so that's really what my tip is here, is, definitely look for the fatty acids that I listed out on the screen in your products, but you may find a lot of benefit to adding a plant oil with a favorable fatty acid composition into your skincare routine, if it's favorable for your skin type. So one of my favorites is chia seed oil. This has a really good amount of omega-6 fatty acid, which is very good for your skin barrier, very beneficial for helping a dehydrated skin. But what I love about chia seed oil is it's not a heavy oil. It's not super duper thick. It's not pore clogging. I find it to be more on the light to medium side. I find it to be a breathable oil. Tomato oil is another great one that doesn't have a really heavy feel to it, but a nice focus on omega-6 fatty acids. Now, those are going to be really great oils to look for if you have more like combination skin. If you have very dry skin, you will also benefit from some omega-9 fatty acid content, because omega-9 really does help with dryness. It's a little bit richer for the skin, and it's also something that you may want to avoid if you're very acne prone, because sometimes omega-9 fatty acid and acne prone skin does not mix. But if you're looking for a little bit of a richer oil, marula oil is a very helpful one with a good amount of omega-9 fatty acid. And there's 2 blends that I super duper love that have a good balance between omega-6 and omega-9. That's the bee oil from The Ordinary, as well as Stratia Fortify, which has a really nice mix of 3, 6, and 9 omega fatty acids, and it has really been kind of like obsessively researched to find that perfect balance. Now, my 6th tip is also fatty acids, because fatty acids can be beneficial to your skin, not just topically, but it can also be helpful when you ingest them, when you eat your fatty acid. So what are those types of foods? Fish can be really helpful. And again, we're talking those omega fatty acids. Salmon is a fantastic source for omega fatty acids, but you can also get them from sources like walnuts and chia seeds, flax seeds. I actually find the seeds to be really easy to build into like a morning routine. Sprinkle them on your cereal, your yogurt, your oatmeal, put them into your smoothies and protein shakes and things. They can add a lot of fatty acid content into your diet, but they're a very easy way. And especially if you don't want to add in more like fish products or something like that, right? If you want to keep things a little bit more vegan, that can be a really great way to do it as well. So my 7th tip is to slug all the time. The occlusive ingredients basically create a temporary physical barrier on the skin. So especially as we've mentioned, dehydration is all about the skin barrier being probably a little bit weak or damaged. So if that's the case, having a temporary physical barrier on top of your skin can be incredibly beneficial to holding hydration in, but it might also be helpful for resisting all of the outside irritants that we talked about as well. And for folks who are suffering with dehydration in very extreme winter temperatures, I live in Wisconsin, I understand extreme winter temperatures. You may find that your skin feels very dehydrated just from being outside in the icy wind and the really extremely cold temperatures. That can really do a number on your face. Sometimes it's not just dehydration, sometimes it just irritates your skin and inflames your skin, makes it feel really raw. So that's where having a very occlusive ingredient that creates that barrier on top of your skin can not only protect your skin from the environment, but will also help your skin resist the transepidermal water loss that's making your skin feel so itchy and tight deep within as well. So here's a few tips for that. Okay, as we mentioned, Vaseline, Aquaphor, or Cerave healing ointment. These are all like the three most popular products to use for slugging. And so really what you would do is you would apply your moisturizer and then just put a thin layer of one of these products right on top, kind of like a sleeping mask situation. Something I've also been experimenting with is using the Roche-Posay Cicaplast Baume. This has 1% of dimethicone. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, it's plenty, trust me, but it does have a little bit more of a breathability to it. It's not super overwhelming for the skin. So you can apply this in a thin layer on top of your moisturizer, or again, if you want to mix it into your moisturizer for a slightly lighter feel, not like building up lots and lots of layers on the skin, allowing your skin to breathe, mix it into your moisturizer. I've actually been doing that a lot during the day, and it's been incredibly helpful. If your dehydration has gotten to the point where your skin also feels inflamed and irritated as well, this is a particularly good product to know about because it does have soothing and skin healing ingredients in it. It has madecassoside, which is derived from centella. Tip number 8 is sunscreen. And I have to say, I always kind of like roll my eyes whenever I make a tip-based video, and I'm like, it almost always has like some section about sunscreen, right? But even when other people are like, wear sunscreen, I'm like, oh, we know, right? So I'll try to keep this one short. But as I mentioned, the root cause of dehydration is your skin barrier being weak or damaged. And I mentioned that there's many factors that can weaken or damage your moisture barrier. But one of those causes, one of those environmental stressors, not just the fluctuating temperatures, but actually one of the environmental stressors on your moisture barrier is UV exposure. So definitely make sure that you are wearing your sunscreen, especially if you are experiencing dehydration, because your sunscreen, yes, it's protecting your skin from skin cancer. It's helping with your anti-aging and brightening goals, but it's also maintaining and helping to create a healthy skin barrier. Tip number 9, avoid hot water. Ooh, yeah, this one is a tough one, but this is another one that goes directly to the health of your skin barrier. When you're using super duper hot water, and I'm saying super duper hot, I'm saying scalding, steaming hot water, that can actually test your skin's moisture barrier. It can strip your skin of essential moisture and lipids. And again, that is what helps to hold hydration in place. So if you're constantly stripping that with really hot water, you're damaging your skin's moisture barrier and you're allowing the hydration to escape through your skin. It also makes your skin just feel really irritated and dry as well, because that moisture barrier is being assaulted by the super hot water. This is a hard tip to follow in the winter time, which is a common time for us to experience moisture barrier issues and dehydration, right? So I just want you to know, I'm talking about really hot water. I'm not talking warm water. I know that feels so good, especially when you're washing your hands when you come in from outside and they're so cold. That water just helps warm your bones up, you know what I mean? Or like hot baths and hot showers. Just make sure they're not super duper scalding hot. Just make sure that you're not spending a super long time in those hot baths. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not trying to take the pleasure out of staying warm in the winter time, but I'm trying to make you aware of an issue that actually strips your skin and tests your skin's moisture barrier. And my 10th tip is to check your cleanser. Yeah, just like hot water can strip your skin of essential moisture and test your skin barrier, opening yourself up to dehydration. Same with cleansers. Cleansers can sometimes cleanse your skin a little bit too effectively, where it is taking away the essential moisture. Once you do that, you really are opening up your skin barrier to being weakened or damaged over time. And so cleansing, while the most boring part of our skincare routine, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that exciting, actually can be one of the more damaging things that we do to our skin on a daily basis. Look at your cleansing strategy strategy. In the morning, you may not need a foaming cleanser, or you may want to switch to something a little bit more gentle, like a micellar water, or maybe a moisturizing milk cleanser for the morning time. You don't need to do like a heavy duty scrub in the morning. We just need to break through the oil, right? Maybe some sweat and things like that, but we don't have like a lot of dirt, pollution, makeup, sunscreen, and all that to work through like we do at nighttime. So the morning time can make a lot of sense to switch up that strategy for cleansing, washing with just water, with a washcloth, or with gentler cleansers to help maintain that moisture and that skin barrier. And again, not washing with super hot water either, right? And then really take a look at what you're doing at nighttime too. You might want to switch out that cleanser to something a little bit more gentle. Again, I recently did a video on moisturizing cleansers. You can check that one out. These are very, very gentle. And it might be worth switching to seasonally when you're experiencing dehydration. It might be worth, like I said, doing something more in the morning time that's a little bit more gentle. It's just about finding the balance that's right for your skin. So I really want to seed the idea that your cleanser could be causing some issues. So take a look at what you're doing right now. What are you using? Can you switch that to something more gentle? So I hope those tips helped you think about dehydrated skin in a little bit more of a holistic way. It's not just about putting a lot of hydration on your skin. It's really also about your skin barrier. It's about understanding your environment, and it's about understanding all of the different components and ingredients that can really help us on that journey. As I mentioned, I've been through lots of ups and lots of downs with my dehydrated skin, so I hope me sharing all of this with you has been very helpful. And if there's a tip that's worked for you in dehydrated skin or moisture barrier issues that I didn't cover, let us all know in the comments below. And if the video did help you, I'd be so honored if you would hit subscribe before you take off, especially if you love skincare and getting a little bit more nitty gritty and in-depth like this video. That's what I do here on my channel. So hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you're never out of the loop. I'm very active here on YouTube. I post full-length videos every single week. I do shorts. I have a video podcast. Sometimes I go live too. So turn on notifications so you're never out of the loop. I hope you are healthy, happy, and safe wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.